I, 36 male, was working every day as a dentist. I was the father of 2 young children, and I trusted their mother, 30 female, more than anyone. She was supposed to be my rock, my life partner. Her dream was to travel around the world. She was very smart and acted for years like a respectable woman, so I wanted to make her dream come true. Even before our wedding day, it became impossible for me to picture living my life without her. We were married for 6 years before we had our first child. 4 years later, we had our second. Shortly after our second-born's 5th birthday, my wife celebrated 10 years of employment with her company. Our life was better than I ever could have asked for. We celebrated by hosting a party in her home. Several of her colleagues came over, and it was only the second time I got to meet them in all those years. Everyone seemed really nice. Several people complimented me and my wife. All of them got to see or meet our kids, who got out of bed to investigate mom and dad's friends and didn't notice anything weird about the party or the people there. My wife was a little excited and jittery, but that was how she usually got whenever she was at a social gathering. She didn't know it when I was saving up money as fast as I could for a trip to Australia to celebrate her upcoming 20th wedding anniversary. I worked 6 days a week, so I was looking forward to this more than any whole Sunday. I had the thought at least once a week that our area needed more dentists. Literally, just days after the party we hosted and days before I planned on telling my wife and kids about the trip I had planned, my mom texted me. All she said was, "She's cheating on you." I replied with lots of question marks, and when she didn't reply back, I called her. She sighed before admitting that there were lots of people who knew my wife was cheating on me. She started an affair about 2 years prior with one of her colleagues. Completely taken aback, I asked why she or anyone else ever told me about it. She said she didn't tell me about it because it was her daughter and she didn't want to be the one to tell her secret. But after so long of an affair, she couldn't take it anymore and reasoned that I deserved to know. So either of us had a chance at getting married again. I couldn't believe my wife was shamelessly seeing another man, and none of her coworkers felt like telling me. Then she added that my wife was looking forward to this upcoming business trip. My wife told her that work trips were the only time she could feel guilt-free with AP. Then she admitted to her mother that she might be enjoying her affair more than her marriage. I asked my aunt what I was supposed to do about custody of the children, which I immediately regretted because she started saying that my wife was still an excellent mother so I could let her have it. That's when I hung up. Now that I knew the truth, I was going to start taking my life back. I felt like a fool as I explained the situation to my lawyer. How did I not see any signs? My lawyer suggested I obtain evidence of some kind before confronting her about it. So before she left me with the kids to go on the business trip she was so looking forward to, I asked her where it would be held and wrote down the address. She probably assumed I just asked for safety reasons. She kissed the kids goodbye and then tried to kiss me. I pulled away, but she didn't ask me why. She just looked at me a moment before she shrugged and left. That's how I knew she didn't care about me anymore. I planned to surprise her at the address she gave me. I left our kids with my mom, who was very eager to see them. She lived independently, 45 minutes away from us, far enough that she wasn't comfortable driving. So having the kids at her house didn't happen very often. I needed her more than ever at this point. I arrived at the address of a fancy hotel. There were several luxurious rooms for social gatherings. I found the one for my wife's company and started recognizing people as I walked around. I held my phone recording as I searched for her. If she so shamelessly spent time with this man around her coworkers, I could think of no better way to get proof and confront her. People I met before stared at me, probably wondering where they knew me from. One woman gasped and didn't take her eyes off me. She knew this was it. My wife was busted. Several other people noticed me looking around and remembered who I was. By the time I made eye contact with my wife, we had an audience of about 80 people. She had another man's arm around her waist. I could tell that just a moment before she saw me. She was extremely comfortable, having a marvelous time, and was shell-shocked. My wife dropped her wine glasses. I felt my anger reach a point I never felt before in my life. All the years I spent with her and her children's faces flashed in my head. I thought about flipping over a table full of food, but I was recording her in AP at this moment. I was trembling as I rhetorically asked if anyone cared to tell me the truth about my wife. No one said a word. No one moved. I asked her directly why she cheated on me, even though on the grand scale of things, it didn't matter why my wife cheated on me. I felt like I needed to know. I wanted her to explain on camera why it wasn't good enough for her in front of all the people she worked with. She looked extremely stupid when she just stammered that she didn't know why. I scoffed loudly and yelled that our kids deserved a better mother, then I walked out. Later that night, after I was back at home with our kids, my email called, begging me to give my wife another chance. She said it wasn't her place to tell me what my wife was doing. I thanked her for telling me the truth because anyone deserves to know when they're being cheated on. She paused before asking me again to forgive my wife so she could come back home. She went on to explain that she didn't have room for her to move in and just flat out didn't want her to live with her. I laughed a hearty laugh and hung up. Neither her nor her daughter cared about me. They were only thinking of themselves. For some reason, my mom became annoyed by the fact that everyone knew about my wife's affair except for me. So she told me the truth because it was what she wanted to do. Now that it inconvenienced her, she wanted me to forgive her daughter. She didn't even say it was for her daughter's sake, she just wanted her house back. Wouldn't you believe that? My wife called me just 2 days later, asking me to forgive her because she didn't want to live with her mom. She said she was sorry, but I knew her tears were because she hated the consequences of cheating on me, not because she felt remorse for breaking apart our family. I had already uploaded the video online and attached it to an email to her company. She and AP lost their jobs already. I took this time to tell her that I saved up money for a trip to Australia intending to celebrate our 20th anniversary. But now it was going to be a trip for me to celebrate being a father to 2 amazing kids. My mom would be taking her ticket. She didn't believe me at first, but then she started throwing a tantrum. This was the best and worst karma for her to experience. She was missing out on her lifelong dream that I made possible, all because she started a shameless 2-year-long affair with a colleague. I'm happy to say that the trip to Australia was absolutely incredible and it really helped me to grow as a father and heal as a man. Now let's get into the second story. My wife, 27, female, and I, 28, male, got married young when we were 20 and 21. I met her through friends while I was attending college and I fell in love before I met her. I never thought I'd let my guard down for a woman so quickly, but I believe we were meant to become a pair. I obtained my degree the same year my wife became pregnant. Life was moving fast for us, but I never felt worried or scared. My parents were little. Her parents were thrilled. She was settling down and staying out of trouble. She never told me much about her past, but she had a lot of friends. It seemed that for much of our relationship, if not all of it, I was sharing her with her friends. After she had our son, she went back to socializing and insisted I stay home to watch him while she went out at least once a week. I easily agreed to this. I felt like we were living the perfect dream. After a while, I wanted us to go out together, but my wife didn't trust either of our parents to watch her son. I thought that was pretty frustrating because they were supposed to help us and smother their grandson with love. So things stayed the same. She went out with her friends. Then sometimes she'd watch the baby while I went out. I didn't like the separation before I got to talk to her about it. She started acting weirder. Each night she went out, she'd tell me which friends she was going to meet. She started to get scrambled and forgot which name she told me. The next day I pointed out her inconsistencies and how she was always vague about what they did. Each night she got nervous and said she had to lie to her mom about who she hung out with because her mom hated one of the girls she spent time with. So that's why she got confused and told me the wrong story. I did not believe this at all. It was just alarming. How could she forget which truth to tell me if her mom didn't like one of her friends? That isn't a very complex lie to keep straight, and it wouldn't mean she'd have to lie to me at all. I didn't want to cause an argument because I could tell my wife was in defense mode while she was out another night. I called my mill. I asked her who my wife said she went out with the night before. She was audibly uncomfortable and put on the spot. She cursed a little inside heavily. She assumed the jig was up and admitted my wife was seeing someone else because she had some growing up to do. I was shocked and hurt. My am justified my wife's cheating ways, blaming it on her immaturity. She assured me that my wife would learn from this if I could let it go this time. I hung up on her. I looked at my son and felt broken. Like I would never be the same after this. When my wife returned, I told her I knew everything. She looked at our son and instantly broke down. She told me she needed me to forgive her. She said exactly what her mom said, that she was young and stupid and made a bad decision. But she didn't deserve to lose our family. It was honestly really annoying to hear her talk about what she didn't deserve. She didn't deserve me, my trust, or the nice home we had as a family. I dedicated myself to her even though I was just a year older than her. Why should I accept this when it's the one thing I never expected her to do? It's the one thing I decided I wouldn't tolerate in my marriage. But these starts fueling me. I told her to go stay with her mom. She took our son with her to her mom's. In a way, it felt like she was trying to punish me for refusing to forgive her. During the divorce, I realized I needed to obtain solid evidence of my wife's affair. I knew I wouldn't be able to get anything from her or her mom directly, so I served subpoenas on my wife's cellular company. As soon as she heard about this, she in turn requested a protective order in an attempt to squash my efforts, proving her infidelity. Thankfully, the court saw what she was trying to do and sided with me. I had the right to engage in discovery, which might lead to evidence of her adultery. To no one's surprise, blatant evidence of an affair was found. Images and texts sent between her and more than 5 other men all the time she ever planned to go out with. AP were there along with the plan she made to hook up with 2 other men. I'm happy to say that I won primary custody and have since healed from this experience. I started dating a wonderful woman 1 year and 2 months ago today. She's a young widow with a young, I can't explain it, but it feels like my story was already written. I know I was always meant to be with this woman as much as I am meant to be a respectable father figure towards children. I feel like I've grown wiser and saw straight through my ex and her mother's manipulation tactics.